This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat and welcome to our show. I'm your host, Ray Rosa, in our program here called Heartbeat Live. Alam po ninyo, sa gabing ito, minarapat namin na maanyayahan muli dito ang isang sa aking katangi-tanging political figure dito sa ating bansa. Pwede nating sabihin, part of the elders of this nation. But yet, you know, it is the elders who have the wisdom. And their emotions have already calmed down a little bit. And so, inanyayahan namin dito somebody who is a former senator and whose son is now the Senate President of the Republic of the Philippines. Wala na pong iba kundi si former Senator Aquilino Nene Pimentel. Kanya lang. Maski na ganito yan, alam po, miyembro siya ng Consultative Commission that has been tasked by President Duterte to amend or to suggest amendments to the Constitution.
Yeah, right.
Now, how did you take, matanong ko nga lang sa inyo, Kuya Nene, how did you react or how did you feel when the Speaker of the House said that they're not going to be bound by whatever you do?
Well, that seems to be a prerogative of people who believe that they are the sole repository of powers in this government, which is not true. Because precisely the consultative committee was created by President Digong to make recommendations. And the recommendations will not be passed directly to the House, but to the President.
The Palace.
Yes. And he will be the one to
Okay.
suggest.
Let me ask you another question. Is it a reasonable assumption to think that once there is an agreement within the Palace and Congress about the constitutional changes, it will no longer be subject to a general plebiscite?
No, of course not.
Or can the Congress then, in representation of the people, say, no, we will be the ones to pass on it?
Well, that is correct in a sense that both houses of Congress will have to adopt a proposal for submission to the people in a plebiscite.
Although the President is not duty-bound to pass it through Congress.
No.
He cannot go directly and submit it to a plebiscite?
There's a so-called initiative and all that stuff, but in this particular instance, the President has chosen the manner of revising the Constitution through a Constituent Assembly, which means both houses of Congress will have to define what is the issue to be submitted to the people. And what we are trying to do is to respond to the request of the President to propose specific changes. But these changes will have to be submitted to the President and for him to endorse the same to Congress.
Okay. Then the question here of when this Constitution can be adopted has to remain a question mark because people are wondering, ano ba ito? A few changes here and there, or is this a massive overhaul of the existing Constitution?
You know, Ray, the way it looks from our performance of our duties, it looks like they're looking at the entire Constitution.
Amo manggani. That's what I'm thinking. I'm seeing. In which case, napakadaming. In other words, when we are only given under the present Constitution, we can only amend the Constitution once every 5 years. Di ba? there is a limitation about what you can do. And there is a provision, in fact, that enables you to amend one section at a time if you want to, but you cannot do it more often than a certain period. So dito natin, ang tinatanong ko sa iyo dito, mukha bang ganun talaga ang direksyon ng takbo ninyo, total overhaul?
You know, Reno, pinakikinggan ko nga yung mga discussion doon and sometimes I participate, give my views. Right now, for example, we're talking about the powers of the president. Right now. But previous to that, we were also discussing the Bill of Rights. So meaning to say, apparently, the thrust of this body is to revise the Constitution in its totality. Ang problema lang, Ray, ganito, maikli ang panahon na binigay.
Amo manggani. It's difficult because of the length of the period of time. And I want to raise a little bit of a pilyo question na Kuya Nene. And it is the idea, tinutulak ngayon ng BBL na, as I have seen the draft of the BBL proposals, and from a plain layman standpoint, with a little bit of IQ, I see still provisions in the BBL proposal now which conflict with our existing constitution.
Absolutely.
Now, why are they pushing the BBL when they are so far removed from finalizing the final proposals for the revision of the Constitution? Ano yun? Will Congress pass a bill, put it on the sidelines hanggang mabago ang Constitution? Well, that means that the passing of that bill at that time remains questioning its constitutionality and can already precipitate a big battle about its provisions.
As a matter of fact, my view on that, Ray, is that dapat, tama po kayo, ang daming defekto ng BBL na yan. For example, just to make our audience understand, the BBL authorizes the Bangsamoro entity to adopt its own constitution.
Its own flag.
Yeah.
Its own anthem. It is a sub-state.
Not only that,
without mincing words.
Not only that, doon sa kanilang proposal mismo, sa Bill of Rights na lang, freedom of speech is guaranteed. Pero wala yung phrase "and of the press." Freedom of speech lang. And then,
but they will then control the media.
Yun na nga ang net effect noon. Ang ibig ko sabihin, ang daming mga provision dyan na kailangan ma-refine. For example, another example, pagdating ng eleksyon, ang gusto ng BBL na yan, under the proposal of the MILF, na ang pipiliin ng mga tao, yung members lamang ng legislative body.
Wow.
And then they will be the ones to elect the executive officials. Meaning to say they're trying to adopt a parliamentary form which is contrary to the existing framework of our Constitution, which requires that all elective officials must be directly elected by the people. Meron ka ba nakikita na kahit barangay officials, ini-elect natin directly by the people, pagkatapos yung mga member ng anong pangalan nito, BBL, hindi natin elect, sila lang mag-elect.
Well, it sounds like there are dark clouds hovering over our nation as a consequence of this. Is it possible to say, ito assessment lang ito, we're trying to accomplish too much too soon, and the net result of that could well be a poorly crafted constitution, and the motivations behind many of the changes or some of the changes may still be really tantamount to a power grab or a preservation of prerogative and privilege?
Ray, alam mo, actually, malala ninyo na isa ako sa tumutulak noong local government code para madagdagan ang kapangyarihan ng mga gobyerno lokal. But actually, ang nangyari, 3 departamento lamang ang natamaan ng local government code: agriculture, health, and social welfare. Okay. Ibig sabihin noon, mga kapangyarihan, pundo, at mga personnel nitong 3 departamento binigay na sa gobyerno lokal. Okay. Now, anong nangyari nung tinamaan ng Samar and Leyte ng Yolanda? Rin maniwala ka, ang nagmudmod ng pera doon sa mga biktima ay ang chairman ng ang head ng DSWD, a department whose functions, personnel and funds had already been devolved to local government. Kaya nagalit ang mga local government officials, ba't naman hindi kami na under the law yun ang utos ng batas. So, nung narinig ko yun, nirevive ko yung itulak na natin itong federalismo para yung kapangyarihan to develop our own communities maibigay na directly sa taong bayan. So that is the reason primarily kung ba't na-revive yung federalismo. In addition to the fact that for the first time in the history of our country, meron tayong Pangulo who is espousing that angle, but he is not, wala siya ng mga detalye doon. So, minamarapat ko na i-file ko na yung revival.
You know, bago pa lahat yung napag-gulong-gulong yan, I've always been thinking, and to me, nobody has ever categorically and explained why or given answer to the question, are we already ready for federalism or are there certain things that need to happen? Kasi sa aking pananaw, and you know, excuse me, ganun ang pananaw ko eh. There are at least 3 things that need to happen. 1, electoral reform. Because without it, then the sovereignty and the suffrage of the people is nothing but a joke. And all of our electoral processes with a corrupt COMELEC has been a joke. And I say that openly. And I don't care who agrees or disagrees. Hanggang hindi makakayang pagkatiwalaan ng taong bayan na yung kanyang boto ay mabibilang at maisusuma na accurate, that electoral process is subject and doubtful. So yung electoral reform to me is our, as a matter of fact, I've been saying here for the last 10 years, our first reform area ought to be our election laws. So, number 2, ang problema dito, hindi pa nila pinapasa hanggang ngayon ang Freedom of Information Act. Bakit? Do you think they will put that now into this Constitution?
Freedom of information. Pinag-usapan niyo.
Wala. I mean, the topic is again gone silent. Nobody's even talking about it now. So what does that tell us? Kasi sa akin, one of the biggest problems we have, and this is why I'm saying, the answer may not necessarily be in the form of government, is the issue that I was telling you about earlier of how to hold politicians accountable for their actions, because the biggest problem we have now is so few people trust Congress or the Senate to do what they ought to do. So if the politicians are held in distrust, I don't care what system you had, machachapso yan eh.
And that is the reason why, precisely, sa tingin ko, wag na natin ipaubaya sa Kongreso yung bagay na yun. Let us submit it directly to the people in a plebiscite for them to decide. Because otherwise, tama ka pag, for example, the local government code, anong nilagay ko roon? Every 5 years, dapat ma-revisit yung local government code. Ginawa ba nila? Hindi. So you see, mas maganda na itulak na natin itong mga issue.
Paano
natin
natin maitutulak unless it is, what do you call it, unless it is provided for in your recommendations for the amendment of the Constitution, yung Freedom of Information Act, you should deal together with the Anti-Dynasty Bill, should be self-executing.
Yes, pwede yun. Yeah, we can provide. As a matter of fact, yung Anti-Dynasty Bill, for example, nandiyan na, pinag-usapan na namin. Pero,
hindi pa nagkakasundo ng gusto.
Ang aking proposal was up to the 4th civil degree, hanggang sa first cousin.
Natalo daw by 1 vote.
No, they reduce it to second degree lang. Meaning to say, father, son, daughter, asawa. Sabi ko, isali pati mistress dyan, ha? Otherwise,
kanya lang, baka they will think it's a legalization of illicit relationships. But before we go ahead, we have to pause for a few reminders. Babalik po kami, huwag kayong mawawala.